forecasting the future of equipment manufacturing.
Are you ready? Because changes are coming.
Hi everyone, I'm Ed Highland for AEM TV.
And I'm Kimberly Bottom. Staying true to the conference theme, discussions on day 2 centered around rising to the challenge of a changing industry landscape.
From analyzing data to Industry 4.0 to additive manufacturing, AEM brought in thought leaders from around the globe to inform attendees of what's next.
Additive manufacturing can seem like a daunting idea, but Oak Ridge National Laboratory's Lonnie Love gave some great tips on how to approach this fairly new process. His advice? Start small.
I think the low-hanging fruit is tooling. It's really, tooling is those molds, jigs, fixtures that are really the base of manufacturing. And right now, a lot of that has been offshored to Asia. And what we're saying is, the way that you can use this technology is you can make molds, jigs, fixtures faster than and cheaper than you can get it shipped from China.
A deeper dive into additives came from Mark Schaub of Wolf Robotics, a company that's working with Oak Ridge. Schaub says materials are getting better. Additives mean costs are coming down, and the key is the imagination in software.
With a robot, we use positioners, so we can move the part and print in different build planes, and that requires a build strategy. And so we need software tools that a user can sit behind, or we can automatically define a build strategy for a part.
This session looked at the future of a critical element in manufacturing, operator training. It's no secret demand is getting higher and the workforce is getting smaller. So how does the industry entice and retain the next generation workforce? One answer may be in gamification of the training.
Originally, we were just looking at the health of the vehicle. We said, does it arrive on time? Does it end on time? But that didn't provide full color of the scenario. One example was a customer said, I don't care about hard acceleration, but I really care about hard braking because it means they're not looking down the road. And that could play to a certain type of driver, a millennial, because maybe they're not paying as much of attention to certain things.
A new administration brings new challenges for the industry, so AEM looked to insights from a veteran of the political landscape. I have the honor now of being joined by Michael Steele, the former chair of the Republican National Committee, as well as a contributor to MSNBC, AEM session speaker, a keynote, and a heck of a nice guy for coming by and joining us today.
A lot of fun.
Tell us a little bit. One of the first comments you made was the man the Republicans just managed to elect to the highest office in the land is not really a Republican.
No, he's not a rock-ribbed Republican, and I think everybody kind of knew that going into this thing. But what he's done is, and I see him more as this new kind of populist. And there have always been, populist kind of aspirations inside the party, libertarian leanings inside the party, certainly with someone like Rand Paul. But he's been able to sort of capture that in a way that I think is going to be very interesting to watch. I sort of look at him governing as a pragmatic populist. He's an individual who's not beholden to the Republican Party because clearly it was obvious they weren't necessarily happy about his candidacy at the time. And he's not beholden to Democrats either. So he has the kind of freedom that a president hasn't had in a long while coming into Washington, where he can pretty much set the table the way he wants on policy, on issues that he thinks the country wants to have resolution to, unlike as opposed to the agenda that the others tend to have.
Does the fact that, as you mentioned, he's not beholden to anyone particular mean that he'll be able to move an agenda forward, and in particular for this group, equipment manufacturers, what that will mean to them?
Yeah, I know. I think it's important to note that some of the things that he's already started talking about, like his $1 trillion infrastructure plan, it's going to have a huge upside for folks in the industry of manufacturing. He wants to bring manufacturing back to the United States in a big way, and by that it means those jobs that have gone offshore in some form or another, find the means to bring them back, to create those opportunities here at home. And it's, I think, for organizations like AEM, it's a real opportunity to have a seat at that table as the government, and particularly this administration, begins to develop that strategy, to have that voice of manufacturers, equipment manufacturers in that space, because at the end of the day, it's all going to come to their table eventually to have to deal with whatever that plan is. So I think this is an enormously important time right now, and it's very enlightening and I think heartening for me to hear him talk about that. We had a small manufacturing base in my home state of Maryland. We'd love to see it grow, and to have a president for the first time in a long time speak to that, I think, is really encouraging.
There were a lot of smiles in this room when you mentioned that.
Yeah, no, there were, and a lot of head nodding, and they know it's going to be a tough task. We got to define what that $1 trillion looks like, and how much of it goes where, and over what period of time it gets dispensed. But to have the president, before he even steps into the office, say that this is a priority, I think is important for everyone who's related to the industry.
The recent election has created both confusion and opportunity for the industry. Consultant Eli Lustgarten says the pledge to invest in infrastructure means equipment manufacturers must do the same to be ready for the coming boom.
What drives economic growth is labor and productivity. Yes, we've exhausted most of the labor pool benefits we can have. It's hard to get skilled, but productivity investments will go up, capital investments will go up or will start to anew. We're not going to get a boom right away, but we are going to get an improved environment over the next couple of years, far better than what people thought before Election Day.
A crowd turned out for an outlook on the agricultural sector. Many people are feeling the sting of fairly low commodity prices right now, and with that, fairly low farm income numbers. Bob Young, with the American Farm Bureau Federation, says it will take time for things to improve.
Unless we end up with a weather event around the world, I think we are going to talk about commodity prices, kind of staying in the tank. We've got, fairly large stocks here in the United States. We've got tremendous stocks in China, for example. And as we kind of, it's going to take a while for us to kind of work all that stuff off. And again, it takes a supply hit in order to work those stocks off.
As a manufacturer in the agricultural sector, as well as a farm wife, I really wanted to better understand the predictions and the forecasts from the Farm Bureau. And it's really reinforced a lot of things that we already knew, that it's going to be a very difficult next 2 or 3 years. And it's just time to hold on and make smart decisions.
Advancing technology is an undeniable part of our industry, and AEM works to be a thought leader in this arena for the benefit of its members. That's why technology is a focus right here at the annual meeting, like these telepresence robots. Someone from a remote location can interact and even answer questions.
Hi, I'm Ari in London. How can I help you?
And these iPads on every table in the main ballroom not only display important messages, but they also help the presenter engage with the attendees. This breakout session addressed the future of technology and equipment manufacturing. A panel of experts touched on topics like the importance of software versus hardware.
What is the software going to do in civil engineering if the hardware is not collaborating?
Right.
And what is the hardware going to do to become more intelligent if there's not the software intelligence behind it? So I think that's a yin and yang that are married together and that have to collaborate together.
They also discussed connectivity brought about by the Internet of Things.
The notion that everything will be connected in the future. So, whether it's your thermostat in your home, your car, but all of the equipment that you're making, even the employees. So knowing really on a job site where everything is supposed to be, and having that constant feedback loop about what is happening. But being able to then deal with all that massive amounts of data that you're getting is going to be critical.
All in all, one theme prevailed. The worst thing you can do about new technology is ignore it.
The industry is moving. We must get this equipment into our machines today because our customers are going to demand it.
Keeping with the technology theme at future shows, ConExpo ConAg, which happens in March of 2017, will have a brand new section called The Tech Experience, focusing on what to expect in the next 10 to 15 years.
It'll give them the opportunity, A, to plan, but B, to understand what some of the really dramatic changes are, what we call discontinuous change, those elements that can really have a major impact on where the industry is going rather than small tactical things.
AEM attendees would love to have the ability to read their customers' minds, but session keynote Jonah Berger says there are some simple ways to get into their heads. Berger, the author of the viral messaging book Contagious, says data shows existing customers are your best salespeople, and word of mouth has a powerful impact.
People don't trust information that comes from companies because they know we're trying to convince them, we're trying to sell them something, whereas they'll trust their peer, right? If the peer says, oh, I worked with them, they were great, they delivered on time, they went above and beyond, or they say they weren't so good, we're much more likely to trust that information. And so word of mouth is more trustworthy, and a dollar spent on word of mouth actually goes 10 times as far as a dollar spent on a traditional ad.
The annual conference ended in celebration during a night of heroes. One hero for the industry is Bob Vermeer. He's the chairman of the board for the Vermeer Company. Bob was elected to the AEM Hall of Fame for his contributions to the industry stretching over 4 decades.
Well, I'm humbled by receiving this award. My father received this award in 1996, and he was really kind of my inspiration.
AEM also held a toy drive for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and announced a donation that will grant the wishes of 3 children. And it's official. AEM's new chair, Mike Haberman, took the reins from 2016 chair Leif Magnuson.
It's been an exciting year for AEM, putting in place a new strategic plan and just wrapping up our board meeting here today, approving that strategic plan along with the budget is, for me, a great accomplishment, and I think that the association is heading in the right direction, which to me means that we have to provide value to our member companies.
And next year is an important year for us. We're going to continue our push to advocacy and be more and more vocal to support our industries in Washington, D.C. and also at the state levels as well.
That's a wrap on an exciting year for AEM and the end of another successful annual conference.
We're pleased to have brought you AEM TV. I'm Ed Highland.
And I'm Kimberly Bottom. We hope to see you next year in Palm Beach, Florida.